Ladies, dear sisters, the weekly meeting of the Flaxby Widows Club having now been called to order, let us offer a generous round of applause for Edwina Grouse and her rousing rendition. That was her rousing rendition of the William Tell Thank you, Edwina, and welcome. Edwina acquired her lovely ukulele during yet another recent vacation in Hawaii this time, and has certainly been practicing diligently. Edwina, are you sitting? Yes, all right. Thank you, dear Edwina is a charter member of the Widows Club, now living on the coast of Spain, who is here only in Flaxby Mead visiting her sister. We're delighted to welcome her back, if only for a few brief weeks. Soon Edwina will be returning to her sunny villa by the sea. But we are indeed fortunate that she will again be with us next Friday evening at the home of Hyacinth Digby, when she will speak to us all on the topic, getting the most out of his insurance policy. The flowers will be raffled off after tea. Let us defer to Millicent Parsnip, chairwoman of the gardening committee, for all the lovely details. Millicent?
Madam President, sisters, I do thank you all for your enthusiasm. The beautiful blossoms and buds in today's centerpiece consist of Lyodium, Microsopius, and Tunica sassafras, with a spray or two of Cordifolia pictata. They were grown in a mixture of loam, peat moss, and composted with leaf mold, fertilized liberally with fish emulsion and sheep's manure. Raffle tickets will be sold during tea at 5 shillings apiece. Half a pound for a booklet of 6. May wish you all bon chance.
Thank you. And I do see a new member with us today. So without further delay, let me call on Charlotte Daffy, chairwoman of the Welcome Committee, for a proper introduction.
Thank you. Ladies, let us raise our figurative teacups as we salute and embrace our newest sister, Veronica Tramwell, whose husband was called just reward just this sad day past. Each of us stands ready and available to assist you in adapting to your newfound status in life during the coming weeks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlotte, and welcome, Veronica. And now, as always, dear sisters, the moment of solemnity. Everyone, please rise for the recitation of our club pledge. I think it would be more than fitting to have Edwina do the honors.
I should be delighted, Madam President. Sisters in sorrow, pledge eternal loyalty to each and every member of the Widows Club, past, present, and to become. Together we will console, laugh, heal, work, and play. We pledge to open our hands and our hearts to other women, soon to be likewise bereaved. And always we will bear courageous witness to the Widows Club motto.
Death is more friend than foe.
I like that one.
Well done, Edwina, sisters. Now I shall ask Astrid Fox Club to read the minutes of our last meeting in lieu of recording secretary Theodora Fenelon, who is visiting relatives in America, a place called Detroit, to which regrettably I've never been, but which sounds absolutely enchanting. Astrid?
Thank you, Madam President. The minutes of the October 22nd meeting were approved as read. The treasurer, Camilla Bottomley, reported a current balance of $139.71 and fended off an accusation by Maud Boxwood that £2.13 had been misappropriated for the purchase of sheep manure for the gardening committee. Anyway, the social committee made a motion that our highly successful trip to Hampton Court and the Woodpecker and Raven pub be made an annual event. This motion was seconded by Flora Thrushbottom and was unanimously approved by the membership. Beatrice Woolpack suggested that we limit our ale consumption at this event to 3 pitchers instead of our usual 15. But she was unanimously opposed. The gardening committee did unanimously elect to change the date of the dried flower arranging project from Friday, November 1st to the following Tuesday, due to the fact that the final episode of the BBC serialization of Sex and the City will be airing on the evening of the 1st. The retirement committee reported that the event held for Charlotte Daffy's husband, George, a total success. The annual Holly Gathering Sunday was rained out and has yet to be rescheduled. Copies of Rose Myrtle Haskell's recipe for cucumber kumquat chowder were distributed to all members in attendance. 2 spellings and 3 typographical errors were called to the board's attention. Refreshments of currant buns, gooseberry tarts, sweet biscuits, and sherry were served. The meeting was adjourned promptly at 9:30 p.m.
Oh, thank you, Astrid. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Camelia? Violet?
Yes, madam. I've been asked by Violet Melrose to make a statement on her in her absence. She cannot be here today. And these are her words. I should like to clarify on the record that the monies appropriated to the gardening committee for the sheep manure represent a full year's supply and actually amount to far less than the usual annual expenditures due to Melissa Parsnip's diligent inquiries in the wholesale supply house.
Thank you. The minutes stand clarified. I'm sure that another look at today's pleasing centerpiece will firmly attest to both the efficacy of sheep manure and Millicent's devotion. Yes, Charlotte.
Thank you, Madam President. Rose Myrtle Haskell has asked me to point out to anyone making her cucumber kumquat chowder that the kumquats should be boiled rather than soiled. And the recipe may be enhanced with the addition of white rice and not white mice.
Thank you, Charlotte. Ladies, do be sure to make the necessary adjustments. And now, Penelope Pennyworth, do we have anything to report from Ways and Means?
Yes, Madam President. We have an indisputable treat in store for you ladies at tea time today. A taste testing of our new crabapple squash blossom bunch. Now if we all pull our weight together and sell 100 boxes each, the proposed trip to the Tower of London and the sign of the Stuffed Piglet Pub is distinctly feasible. Hold your applause, ladies. I should also like to report a net profit of £22.50 from the sale of crochet blue tissue covers last month. A record amount, I may point out, due to the hard work and sales persistence of the entire committee.
Thank you, Penelope. And congratulations, ladies. May I suggest a well-deserved rest for those busy fingers? I'm sure that many a WC has been beautified by your industrious endeavors.
Oh, yes.
Moving along to the next item on the agenda, we shall hear from Laura Thrushbottom and Maud Boxwood of the Retirement Committee.
Well, thank you, Madam President. I am pleased to report that on the evening of Saturday, the 3rd of November, all went according to plan. Maud Boxwood and I arrived exactly at 7 p.m. and at 7:30, I engaged the subject to be retired in conversation next to the chicken tartlets. And under pretext of asking him to sign our petition for the beautification of the English Channel buoys, lighthouse buoys, I was easily able to make a prearranged substitution of just a few shrimp on the side of the platter nearest to him.
For a moment, we felt concerned that he might not eat anything at all. But happily, when I took one of the tartlets myself and commented on its delicious taste, he reached for the very tartlets that Flora had substituted and popped one in his mouth. And due to his extreme extreme allergy to seafood. He began wheezing almost immediately.
But Maud stepped forward and assisted me in propelling the subject from the room, offering assurances that all he needed was a little fresh air. We then took him to an office 2 doors down from the reception room. He sat in a desk chair, and we went off to fetch his inhaler from his coat in the coat room.
We deliberately failed to find the inhaler for 2 minutes and 40 seconds, which was just enough time to have been told by his wife for the allergic reaction to set into its fatal fullness. We then raced back to the office, alerting any bystanders on the road, so that there would be plenty of witnesses when we barged through the door to find Mr. Tramwell quite dead.
I wish to commend Mrs. Boxwood for her splendid cooperation and moral support.
And I, Mrs. Thrushbottom.
Oh, yes, well, forgot. We've been asked by Hyacinth Digby to announce that the Whist and Crochet group, which normally meets on Tuesday afternoons at 2, shall meet instead on Thursday evening at 7.
Vanessa Smythe should bring the biscuits and cheese, and the committee shall provide the Guinness.
Well, thank you, Flora and Maud. A job well done, as I'm sure all of us will agree. Veronica Tramwell, perhaps most of all.
With your kind permission, Madam President, I should like to personally thank all the members of the Retirement Committee for their speed and efficiency. I am overwhelmed and most impressed by the lofty standards of the Widows Club, and wish only to give back to the organization some token of my deep and abiding appreciation. The most difficult part of it all, I'm afraid, has been keeping a straight face.
A few drops of ammonia sprinkled on a handkerchief does wonders, my dear. And as for giving back to the organization, your turn, dear Sister Veronica, will indeed come. And now, sisters, I fear we have a bit of unpleasantness to deal with. I have been informed by Camelia Bottomley of the Protocol Committee that our most recent plans for the retirement of Frederick Foulweather, husband of prospective member Felicity Foulweather, have been flagrantly thwarted. By none other than Beatrix Woolpack.
Oh, please, Madam President, must we be so formal? Please call me Beatrix.
Christian names are not permitted in terms of protocol, Mrs. Woolpack. Please present yourself forefront.
Oh, I am so utterly devastated, so completely ashamed. Please believe me, dear sisters. I meant to do everything perfectly. I arrived at the Foulweathers' home precisely at 6:55 on the morning of October 29th, posing as a replacement housekeeper for the one Mrs. Foulweather had given the day off as prearranged. At 7 a.m., I stationed myself outside the master bedroom until I heard the sound of Mr. Foulweather's bath being drawn. I waited until I heard Mr. Foulweather enter the bath. Then I let myself quietly into the bedroom.
According to Plan A, Mrs. Woolpack was to barge into the bathroom, seize the hairdryer, which had been preset by Mrs. Foulweather. But it was on the edge of the tub sink. Turn it on and toss it into the water where Mr. Foulweather was.
But what? Mrs. Woolpack.
But I kept thinking of Mr. Foulweather lying there stark naked. His hair sticking straight up on end, along with God knows what else. And then, well, I've never in my entire life just barged in on someone without knocking, especially the boss, you know, so.
So what, Mrs. Woolpack?
So I decided that plan B might work. A much more suitable method. More proper, that is. Well, civilized, if you know what I mean.
What do you mean, Mrs. Woolpack?
Well, I ran out into the hallway. I took a thin piece of wire from my apron pocket and stretched it tight across the top of the stairwell, securing it to the banister posts on either side as prearranged should plan A fail.
Mr. Foulweather was to trip over the wire as he started to descend the staircase, tumble head over heels, landing on the marble foyer below, breaking his neck at the very least.
But what, Mrs. Woolpack?
Well, I kept thinking of that poor man lying there. His arms and legs all higgledy-piggledy. His neck twisted this way and that, and a trickle of blood here and there.
And what, Mrs. Woolpack?
Well, I just thought, all things considered, it might be a wiser thing indeed to proceed to plan C. I let myself into the garage. I lifted the bonnet on the Bentley and, referring to the schematic provided me by the committee, I disconnected the squiggly little wire that led to the brakes.
Mr. Foulweather would then back the Bentley out of the garage, intending to brake, of course, before it rolled over the edge of the cliff to the end of the drive. But it wouldn't, of course, and that would be the end of it.
Poor Mr. Foulweather, not to mention the Bentley. Which would have been a shame, of course, seeing that it hadn't a scratch on it at all. And so I thought,
What, Mrs. Woolpack?
well, I only thought it would be so much more economical to reconnect the squiggly little wire and proceed to plan D.
Plan D, the last plan, and the simplest. Something we were sure she could manage quite easily and nicely if all else failed. It involved only the sprinkling of a tiny bit of powder into Mr. Foulweather's tea, and a little something from the gardening committee had provided. Undetectable in any way, but deadly. Really, Mr. Foulweather was at this time sitting down to his bangers and eggs in the breakfast room. Mrs. Woolpack heated the tea, put it on the tray, sprinkled in the powder, and brought it to Mr. Foulweather.
But what, Mrs. Woolpack?
I just couldn't do any of it. I'm sorry.
Consider,
I'm
if you
sorry.
will, Mrs. Woolpack, that if you would fail, if this person changed with the office of dispatching your husband, you would have been overcome with sentimentality.
I know. What can I say? Madam President,
assignment, Mrs. Wolfpack.
Indeed, I did, Madame President. But I was told that if somehow the operation went awry, I wouldn't be blamed.
Oh, Mrs. Wolfpack, had the operation gone awry through no fault of your own? The operation, you wouldn't have been blamed. Look what happened.
Indeed. As it is, the board will bear in mind the excellent job you did on the social committee.
Yes, that's true.
Our recent trip to the Hereford Castle, followed by the wine tasting, was a distinct treat for the entire membership. Especially the wine tasting. However, I feel it is my duty, Mrs. Wolfpack, that to err is human, to rescue is unforgivable. Mrs. Thrushcott, has the retirement committee anything further to add?
Well, yes, Madam President. We've attempted to save face by explaining to Felicity Fallweather that some men cling to life after everything humanly possible has been done to remove it from their grasp. We've attempted to boost her morale with the old adage, at first you don't succeed. We try again. So the retirement committee was convened for an emergency session last night to plan a rain check event for Mr. Allweather with the utmost expediency. We do think one and all will be pleased with the results of that session, which in conjunction again with tireless Millicent Parsnip of the gardening committee, the membership will get to witness this afternoon.
Further, we have decided that Mrs. Wolfpack shall be asked to step down as chairwoman of dried flower arranging and shall be suspended from all club functions for no less than 3 months, including our trip to the annual jousting and yodeling contest just 2 weeks from today. Be sure to register for that, ladies.
Mrs. Wolfpack, kindly relinquish your Black Widow membership pin and leave the meeting. On to a brighter note, sisters. As we call on Millicent Parsnip to introduce the event promised us, one I'm sure will be received with eagerness and enthusiasm. Millicent?
Thank you, Madam President. As you know, ladies, Frederick Fallweather, husband of Felicity Fallweather, is the acclaimed chef of the popular new restaurant, Fanny's Folly. It is indeed our pleasure that he has consented to be with us this afternoon. To demonstrate the preparation of one of Fanny's most requested appetizers, mushroom chestnut bisque. He has just arrived. So, without further ado, let me present Master Chef Frederick Francis Fallweather of Fanny's Folly.
Merci, merci. Oh, ooh la la. Oh, très magnifique. Oh, madame, Christian Dior. Je t'aime, je t'aime. Ah, lady, gorgeous lady. Let me assure you, it is more properly my pleasure to be with you this afternoon, amongst such incredible, indescribable beauty. Was it Shakespeare who said, "A rose by any other name," etc., It may be rather difficult for me to focus on my work this afternoon. But let us get on with the demonstration. The recipe, as I understand it, is in your agendas. Now then, first we will start with 500 grams of mushrooms, finely chopped. To that we will add a sprinkle of thyme. And a dash of tarragon. Next, we will add a whisk of lemon balm, a pinch of parsley, and a tad of coriander. Then we will add a half liter of a sweet, luscious cream. And a quarter liter of a Sprite, but delicate Chardonnay. And last, but not least, ladies, 6 grams of freshly rubbed chestnut. Then we will stir it all up, but gently, ladies, so as not to bruise the merchandise. Now, we will do an itsy bitsy taste test, just to test the seasoning. I always like to give the taste test. It is my trademark.
Oh, God.
Well done, sisters. I'm sure all of us agree. Special recognition goes, I hear, to Millicent Parsons and her gardening committee. Their appropriate choice of mushrooms.
Oh, Madam President,
Oh, yes, Sister Veronica.
I only wondered, would it be inappropriate to use Mr. Foulweather's recipe for the winter potluck?
Oh, I think it would be a lovely gesture. All members in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. There will be mushroom chestnut bisque at the December potluck. Now then, new correspondent Charlotte Daffy.
Yes, Madam President, we have received a letter from Mrs. Primrose Partridge of Flaxbeer and Mead. Dear, dear friends of the Widows Club, please help me to get rid of a terrible person. My husband, etc., etc., etc. Same problem that each of us here is only too familiar with. The philandering old fool to whom we have given the best years of our lives, only to be turned out to pasture while he grazes the fresh, virgin territory.
A doddering dimwit thinks of himself as an adored Adonis.
The gaseous old goat who thinks the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, but doesn't realize he's already over the hill.
A pot-bellied platypus who doesn't know that he's soon to be extinct.
The knobby-kneed knucklehead who should have kept his nose to the grindstone to avoid getting his neck in a noose.
Oh, yes, yes, dear sisters. I'm sure we could all go on and on, myself included. But now let us get back to the topic at hand and find out from Charlotte just how the situation with Mrs. Primrose Partridge is progressing.
Well, I've made the initial contact, Madam President, and have given her some preliminary information about our vast assortment of social and cultural activities, along with our guilt management services. And I've informed her of our initiation and service fees that can be paid by personal check or put on one's Barclays card. Shall I send off the standard membership application?
Oh, yes, please do. And remind her that she should begin treating her husband with utmost kindness so that he will suspect absolutely nothing when the time arrives. Are there any other announcements? Oh, yes, Astrid.
Yes, Madam President. Don't forget, ladies, the geriatric class, the fitness class, Tuesday morning at 10:30. St. Anselm's Church in Plum Pudding Lane. The vicar has invited us all to luncheon at the vicarage afterward. And the vicar's wife, Ophelia, to rehearsal of the handbell choir. After which, we shall be reviewing her recent membership application. Please do be sure to bring an appropriate change of clothing. Oh yes, we shall need a few volunteers to arrange the altar flowers for the upcoming funeral service.
The book club shall be sponsoring a lecture and symposium on Thursday a fortnight at the home of Daisy Whitfield in Trimpton Close to discuss the latest horticultural bestseller, The Vegetarian Vampire. Carrot and green pea scones will be served.
Wonderful.
The gardening committee shall be sponsoring a lecture and symposium on Thursday, a fortnight at the home of Ivy Huntingworth, when I shall speak on the topic snake venom, nightshade, and other naturally occurring toxins. I invite all of you to attend and promise a thoroughly entertaining evening, complete with demonstrations and free samples. Daphne Wentworthy shall provide the refreshments, and the committee shall supply cocktails.
Charlotte?
Sister Mavis Twicklethorpe has invited us to tea on Sunday afternoon at her newly acquired manor in Wexford-upon-Thames, Hemlock Haven, named to commemorate the passing of her husband Carol 6 months ago. By the by, ladies, Mavis assures us she will not be adding any hemlock to the crumpets this time.
Thank you, ladies.
Good information.
Any other announcements? Then will someone move for adjournment so that we can get on with our tea? Edwina has made an apricot cherry trifle, and we have a fresh case of Harvey's Crystal.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? Good. This Widows Club meeting is now officially adjourned.